Hello, 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 everyone. Let me get this thing out of the way so I can see everyone and the flag too, and drop that down. 1 second, 1 second. Where is it? It's up here. All right. Yeah, there we go. So it's been an interesting afternoon. I've spent a lot of it talking with a lot of different people on a question that Christopher Rufo had brought up this morning. Q&A session. Anyway, we'll get into that in just a minute. This is Cassandra Williamson. I am the Executive Director for Transgender Diverse Veterans of America Action Group, and a lot of what we talk about today is from the Action Group side of things. And let me kind of drop down the music just slightly. Keep it in the background, kind of looping around if you like. And then we're going to just jump right into some of this, all right? Let me get rid of the, what do I want to do? I need to go up to the banner. I got to show the banner. First thing is, let me put this disclaimer out there. The opinions expressed here are not necessarily those of any organization, agency, department, or anyone. They're just mine. They're my opinions and mine alone, and I'm sticking to them, folks. So that's the way it is. We're going to be talking about quite a few things. One of the big things, obviously, let me just do one thing really quickly. I need to find a live show over here, over on LinkedIn. And where is it? Live show, your channel. There we go. Give me 1 second. And this should be live up here now. Where is it? Actually, live at 6, live. Here we go. Live. Scheduled for 20. There we go. Not me, not me, not me. Which one are we in right now? Stream 5 hours ago. Here. This one's live right now. Let me share this link. Hold on a minute. I'm copying this thing down. Okay, there we go. I got out of that one. I need to share this over there on Christopher Rufo's page. Let's go see what happens when you do that. Huh? What do you think? What do you think? Paste. Hold on a second. Here we go, folks. There we go. All right, so let me drop out of that conversation. It'll pop back up again whenever. Okay, let me go back. Where are we here? Oh, there you are. I found you again. I see my face. Anyway, so what's been going on today? Well, the first thing is the big news. I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. November 19th, 20th, and be flying back to Alabama on the 21st, the morning of the 21st, which is Tuesday. So why am I going up there? Well, I'm going up there because I received an invitation for an in-person event with the Center for Minority Veterans at the Veterans Administration main office, the VA main office, or VA central office, VACO or Mayo. I don't know which they want to use. It's either, let me see, VA main office or VA central office. I don't know which one, but anyway, I've heard both. So I'm going up there. That event actually starts on Monday around 11:30 Eastern time, and the guest speaker is going to be the Honorable Acting Deputy Secretary of Defense for Readiness, Sean Skelly. I'm looking forward to having that opportunity to hear her speak and talk about the Trans Day of Remembrance, and that's why we're going up there. So I'm looking forward to it. So we'll just see what happens, folks, because it's going to be an interesting time. I hope someone's listening out there. Sometimes we have people in, and we'll drop out that music because it can be a little bit distracting down through here. Drop this down to that. Okay, everyone, come on in. Let's have a chat. First thing is, let's do a roundup of some of the news, and that means I'll go over and present on the page that I've got up in the background for my Microsoft Bing search engine thing for news. There we go, and share. First thing is, Senate Democrats work to circumvent Tuberville's blockade on military nominees as vacancies grow. Yes, Senator Tuberville is from my state, right here in Alabama, and he doesn't even live here, folks. He lives down somewhere in Florida, but he just has an address here. I think he may have got that all mixed up recently because we need to send him to Florida. We can go down there and work with Matt Gaetz and Ron DeSantis, okay? And by the way, I want to make it clear that this is the action group side of our organization, an advocacy side. I do get into a lot of conversations about stuff like that. But that's the big thing. Tuberville's hold needs to stop. And I've told his office that. I've told others that this has got to end. I mean, this is creating real and present danger to the security of the United States, and especially now when we're facing potentially three possible conflicts. Obviously, we've got stuff going on in Ukraine. We've got stuff going on in the Middle East with the terrorist organization Hamas. We've got this stuff happening all over the place in the world. You got to be concerned about Taiwan and the Straits of Taiwan right there, because we have to, China's encroaching up over on that territory, and they had some close encounters with some of our ships at sea and some of our planes in that area, as if they're trying to test and measure their or Taiwan's resolve for their independence. Okay, so that's a huge area right there. It's just kind of the tensions building up around the world at this time. We got all these things happening, and we've got to make sure that Russia does not acquire territory in Ukraine, because, I mean, Ukraine has a right to protect their territory. And it's vitally important that we stand here and support Ukraine and do so in that fight, because why? History shows that this part of the world, that part of the world right there, is one of the most volatile places on the planet. 2 world wars have been fought from that region alone, folks. And lots of other battles and things have taken place because people just can't get along with each other. I don't think they're mature enough to do it. So definitely have to take care of Ukraine right there, make sure that they have what they need to take on Russia. So I don't know the status of Vladimir Putin at this point. The last I'd heard is he had had a heart attack or something. It was the past weekend or something close to that. Some kind of anomaly happened. But we don't know for sure. There's a lot of rumors floating around over there. So I just want to make sure that I say that clearly. Those are the rumors. We don't know the status of that. So yeah, we'll have to see how that turns out. Then let's go over to the Middle East, and we got that stuff going on. And we need leaders in place in the Marine Corps, in the Navy, and the Air Force, and all the branches of service, and Space Force, and Coast Guard. We need those leaders in place. These people don't need to be split between multiple jobs. You can't. Multitasking is a farce. Because if you start multitasking something, if you start multitasking on one thing and on another, you got several different things going on. Well, guess what happens? One of them gets tilted away. You don't get both of them accomplished. Either one of them get accomplished fully as they could have been if you'd put your whole self into accomplishing that one thing, that one task. So we don't need these leaders wearing 2 or 3 different hats in the Marine Corps, or in the Navy, or the Air Force, any of the branches of military service, where they need to be in their job, not as an acting person filling in for someone who just retired, but rather, like in the case with the Marine Corps, the one that was actually nominated and actually approved for the position had a heart attack this weekend. And so the deputy is having to step up and fill in that role. And right now we need to get that person in there in place. You need to have these people lined up. It was a deputy acting to a deputy, that person was acting for a role below and the next role below. I mean, come on, this has got to stop. Tuberville is just way out there on I don't know which end of the football field he's on, but he's certainly not. I don't even know if he's on the field. Good coach. Horrible legislator. Okay, so that's what that was all about. I'll just go over to the next one. Drop out to the next screen. To be pro-Palestine, you must be anti-Hamas, and that I actually agree with. This is from Steve Israel, opinion contributor for The Hill. Okay, written about 2 hours ago. And I probably refreshed that page. It's probably longer than that now, 4 hours ago. Anyway, that's exactly correct. I fully support the Palestinian people, but I will not ever support Hamas as the terrorist organization. That's what they are. That's what their beliefs are. We cannot do that, folks. I'm sorry. If you're out here protesting in support of Hamas, well, you have every right to do so. You can, and I served in defense of your right to do that. That's fine. But it makes no sense to me. Hamas is the one oppressing the Palestinian people. When Israel left from there in 2005, and Hamas took power in 2007 or 8, somewhere around that period of time, they have used the Palestinian people as, human shields out in front. Do you ever wonder why, whenever Israel told everybody to leave, you got to go, you got to go, we're going to come in here, we're getting ready to come in and attack this area right there. We don't want the civilians and all those people out now. Well, Hamas turned around and said, nope, we don't want our people to leave. They need to stay here. You ever wonder why? Because they need the human shields. They want people to die for their beliefs. They want people to be martyred for their beliefs. Why? Because that's I guess that's how they get their brownie points with God. I don't know what it is, but anyway, Hamas has one goal. That's the destruction of Israel. That's the destruction of Jewish people, regardless of where they are. It just so happens to be that Israel is a convenient talking point because Israel was created in 1947, I think, 47 or 48, and they just happened to say that. And I guess Israel was created out of Palestinian lands right there. But Israel was there before that. You can't go back and claim, oh, this year we cut it off and say anything after that is fine. Everything before that we just don't go along with. That's a bullshit argument. That's a bullshit argument. Flat out, period, wrong. So yeah, I am anti-Hamas, period. And it's just goofball crazy to think anything else. Okay, so we'll stop share. We're back over here now to this side of the screen. Okay, back here. Anyone out here with me? No. I did share the link though over there on the Christopher Rufo page. They may have deleted it by now. Because I'd love to have some of those people I was talking with and having some good conversations with over here too. Be fun. But you know how that goes. It's probably not going to happen. But anyway, they don't have the guts to come over and talk to us face to face. So anyway, this morning, I'll just tell you this really quickly. Oh, hold on a second. What do we got right here? Oh, let me pull this screen up. Let me take care of the rest of the news before I go jumping over there, because I have a tendency just to go, I get in the middle of this stuff and just keep on going. And if you don't rein it in, if I don't start thinking of the plan, because I got tabs up here of where I need to be going next. So here's the next tab. Let me go share this screen. Hold on a second. Here we go. Share this screen, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, share that. Okay. Received this email today. Many of you may have received it too if you are on their email list from the VA, the Veterans Affairs, Department of Veterans Affairs. This is from the Center for Minority Veterans, CMV, events update. All right, so Center for Minority Veterans Native American Heritage Month, that is this month. So I want to say happy Native American month, or happy, actually I don't like using the word Native American, they're indigenous people here in this country. The Indigenous Peoples Heritage Month, okay? But, well, that's the title of it. That's what was in Congress. So anyway, we're going to celebrate this month. This whole month is for Indigenous people here in this country. All right? And they did have a program this morning, and our good friend Gregorio Kishketin, who works in CMV, also is part of this program and is going to be presenting, and I'm sure that he will be presenting at the end of the month when they have another one on the very last day. And that last one, though, they have some time down there. I don't know what time. It won't be that time, because that's the time that they actually posted it this morning. So anyway, you got that going on. You have Disabled Veterans National Foundation Resources Fair taking place Silver Spring, Maryland Civic Center, One Veterans Place. If you're in that area, it says, let's make the 6th Veterans Resource Fair a success. All right. Don't know. That's on the 8th, November the 8th. On November the 20th, Transgender Day of Remembrance. That's when we have the Honorable Sean Skelly, Acting Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness for Transgender Day of Remembrance. And I'll be there for that. And I do hope that I can meet up with a bunch of you up there in the DC area if you're watching this. Love to have you up there with us. We need to meet. We need to organize some of our different organizations and groups to be able to oppose this thing called Project 2025, which is what I'm going to talk about here in just a minute. Project 2025 is an atrocious piece of, it's a guidebook, a plan, strategy, very well thought out plan. Oh my God, that seeks to erase and eliminate everything that might identify any minority in this country from the whole of the federal government, including grants. And I'll tell you just how bad that is and how horrific that thing really is for all of us in this space. Okay. And then the very last one I mentioned a minute ago, on November 30th, they'll have another Heritage Month program, and I'm pretty sure Gregorio Kishkerton will be involved with that one too. So go check all that out, put it on your calendar. You can reach out to me if you'd like to get that. So let's drop this one off the screen and go back over here. Yeah, so next thing we want to talk about, folks, next thing we want to talk about is, let's go take a look in Project 2025 again. Well, should I do that or jump over to the Rufo page? Let me go look at the Rufo page. Let's see if we got any more comments over there. Yeah, let me see. It's right here. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see what new comments are in here. Oh, we got a few people responding. I'd actually set to remind folks upcoming deadline to review and complete. I have to look at that. Okay. New comment. Okay. Eugene Neer, by the way, this person has been involved in, was actually sanctioned at one time because they're always putting a down reaction to every darn thing out there, and they got sanctioned. I think that was several years back, but that's what it was all about. Okay. All right, so probably I'll go back to the thread. Let me go back to the thread, and we'll just take a look at it for just 1 second, and I'm going to jump over into Project 2025. And, oh, wait, let me take a look at this one. This is the one I just responded to a comment that Eugene, I don't know if it's Eugene or Eugene, it's got I-N-E at the end, but anyway, we'll leave it at that. And we were talking about all kinds of stuff in here, but anyway, I'd responded, this was his response with the two little things there, right? The mental illness varies depending on dysfunction and culture. 3 waves of feminism and sexual revolution left our culture rather dysfunctional. Thanks for reminding me. Oh, okay. Then my response is cultural dysfunction is purely subjective. Waves of feminism and sexual revolution have nothing to do with gender, gender identity, or sex. And then his response to one of my other statements was, but as you admit, transgenders, and I hate the use of that because it is just so wrong, but they're entitled to say whatever the hell they want, even if it is wrong, right? Frequently also have other symptoms of mental illness. Okay. So I said transgender people, and I said transgenders is not a valid word, have more intense experiences with same kind of mental illness as everyone else experiences, but those are caused by the lack of decency and civility transgender people face in their family, society at large, and or their places of employment. If we could restore a degree of civility in our nation, this is my response, if we could restore a degree of civility in our nation for all people, whether trans or not, we would very likely see a decline in mental health issues in the nation as a whole. Just imagine if we could prevent or stop our kids from bullying their classmates, how many lives we might save if mental health issues resolved. And then he said something about it was false, and I said, and it was in response to me saying that there are studies out there that actually show that gender affirming care or support actually does reduce the amount of mental illnesses people experience in the trans community. That's what the studies show. We all know that. There's a lot of junk science out there that says otherwise, but that's just junk science. And I said, actually, studies support my statement. Okay. And then his response to my above one up here, where I put in cultural dysfunction is purely subjective. No, although thanks for admitting you're not interested in making objective claims. Okay, whatever, Eugenie, whatever. Waves of feminism and sexual revolution have nothing to do with gender, gender identity, or sex. I'll let you read that statement again so you can notice how idiotic it is even by your standards. Okay, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's much more nuanced than you apparently can grasp there, Eugene. Transgender people, transgender is not a valid word. That was what I wrote above. Speaking of subjective claims, have more experiences, have more intense experiences. Okay, actually studies support my statement. Speaking of subjective claims, no, supported. Actually, we're not ever going to resolve this one because obviously he thinks those junk science claims on his side are the credible ones. No, if you publish something in the Atlantic that doesn't make it peer-reviewed science, If you publish something out of, let me see, what is this? The pediatric organization. It's just for kids, but we know it was founded by haters of LGBTQ people back in 2005. Well, anyway, that one pediatric group out there, the college, let's see, College of Pediatricians, that one, I think it is. Anyway, that's junk science. Okay, and then more directly, are people born into the wrong bodies? And I responded to that. I mean, if you go over here to Christopher Rufo's thing, he actually started this question out. Let me go back to the very top of this thing. And he said, it's time for another open Q&A. Write a question on any topic in the comments, then later today I'll answer as many as I can and collect highlights for a future post. Okay, Chris, let's do this. That's not first, but let's go with the newest. New first. And let me go down through here because I know mine's somewhere up in that top up there somewhere. There's been other people. Anyway, so that's what people do. They write questions in here, and I just jumped right in on the transgender stuff. And I did ask, though, about deleting words that they didn't like. And so far, I haven't seen other responses to that one yet, but we'll see. Anyway, that's what I've been doing. What have you been doing? I get a lot of entertainment out of that. And especially since it's hard for them to tell who I am and all that. So I did invite them over. I mean, I did invite them to go check out the YouTube page. Go over there, check it out. Let's go watch. If you're there, you can put a comment in the comment block. I have no problem with that. People are free to comment as they wish in this country, right? Even here. But if you are rude or if you are uncivil and if you are anti-Semitic, I will cut your ass off. That simple. Okay, so I had a lot of fun with that one. So next I'm going to go kind of jump into this thing with, let me see if anybody else around here knows. YouTube, no. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to go jump right straight into Project 2025. And I can guarantee that if any of them did come over here, I can't wait to see what their comments are going to be like on the other side. Let's go look. Let's go check and see. Let me go check and see at this. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I can present from the other page again. I want to see if I've had any comments since this. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Here we go. New comment, open, share. No, that was not the one, but I'm going to go back to here. And okay. All right. Okay. Let me see. I wrote that civility dictates that I let them be who they see themselves to be, regardless of my opinion. Sorry, I'm not interested in indulging in delusions of the insane. So much for a rational conversation, huh? For a rational conversation. Rational and civil conversation, right? Anyway, this person's been in and out of a lot of my conversations before. Oh, I just get a kick out of that. I really do. Let me go see if there's anything else I want to take a look at. We're going to stop share right here. And why? Are you now going to go to the race is a social construct nonsense? Oh, wait a minute. What was that one about? I got to see what this is about, folks. Come on, let's go check it out. Go check out the thread. Go back over here to the thread. Let's go look and see what he's talking about. Here we go. And obviously it was right above that. Is being black. Okay. All right. So this is what I'd said above this. And let me go on up. And they start talking about she, me, me. Okay. And also being transgender is not an ideology. That's what I said. Yes, it is. It is a denial of objective reality. No, it's not. Eugenie. Is being black a denial of objective reality? No. Why? Are you now going to go into race as a social construct? No. 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 Not going there. There with you because I'm simply pointing out. Here we go. This is fun, actually. simply pointing out that race, transgender is just as subjective as that being transgender is just as objectively real, just as objectively real as being black, period. Maybe hard for some people. I'm simply pointing out that being transgender is just as objectively real as being black is. Here. Okay, we'll leave it at that one. Anyway, it's been fun. There have been 51 comments on that one. I don't even know who started that one. It's way up here somewhere. Way up in the weeds up here at the top. Somebody had started something I replied to right there. Anyway, that's been fun. Let's jump over and talk about Project 2025. Here we go. Who's going with me? Everybody? All of you? You going too? Don't know who's watching, if anyone. It doesn't look like too many people are here. I don't know if there's some watching on some of the places that I cannot see. Those places would be someplace like LinkedIn. I don't see anything up here for LinkedIn. So if anybody's over on LinkedIn watching this thing, well, you'll have to comment somewhere. Maybe I can see you. Maybe. I hope. That's the only one that doesn't appear to show if anyone's watching or not. So let us go to looking at Project 2025 again. Actually, I'll do this just briefly. I just want to touch on a few things, some of the stuff that I actually raised questions about over here on Twitter just a second ago. But I'm going to try to get all the high energy stuff. I had a friend who reminded me that I needed to try to get this down to 30 minutes, but in reality, if I could get it down to about 16 minutes, like a TED Talk, I would be better. But it is really difficult to get everything I'd like to say down to like 16 or even 30 minutes. It's really difficult to do that because there's just so much that needs to be said, but you have to figure out, I have got to figure out how to be entertaining and, high energy spoken. I think a lot of it is that whenever people go and watch things on YouTube, for instance, go watch these shows on YouTube, guess what happens is that those shows aren't live. Those shows are edited. And what you're looking at is an edited program that those people put together. Some of them, not all, some of them are that way. And many of the ones that I've watched recently on YouTube are definitely an edited thing. And it makes it look like it's all real compact and tight. And they get it cut down to that 20 or 30 minutes. And what you're seeing right now is a live show. This is a live streaming show. It goes out to Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. So even over on our websites. And we've spent a lot. That's where a lot of this is, and that's why it's not necessarily as tight and compact as some of these other programs are. It's because what's being watched over there are recordings that have been edited to fit within a certain time frame, and that way you can actually cut out the sections that are dull and boring, like me talking right now. you can cut this section out and go cram it all together. Splice it back together or whatever and make something that fits within your 15, 16 or 30 minute spill time, whatever. But in a live show, you don't get that luxury, but you do get to go back in later if you have time. And I'm going to tell you, we have got two live shows every weekday now for a couple of weeks. And we did one show a day on the weekdays for several weeks before that. I mean, we've been doing this show for a little bit. I'm glad everybody has been hanging out and enjoying it, and then constantly reminding me of, hey, you need to be more energetic and tell some jokes. And I don't remember jokes. I'm sorry, Radical Rodent. I don't remember the jokes. That is just not going to happen. That is not going to happen. If I can remember it, I have to keep telling it over and over and over again. I told one joke. It wasn't a joke, really. It was more like a life lesson. But I would tell it year in and year out because it's the easiest one for me to remember. I still remember that one. Want to hear it? Oh, okay. So one time this person goes into the monastery and says that he wants to become a monk. talks to the Monsignor, the head person in the monastery, and says, "Hey, I want to become a monk. What do I need to do?" And Monsignor says, well, if you're really serious about this, you're going to have to spend the next 10 years in prayer and silence. And let me take you to your room. So Monsignor takes this new recruit to their room, and you know what monks' rooms are like, or at least in our image, our stereotypical image of a monk room. Yeah. Okay, so the monks were living in this very austere space. There was nothing on the walls, no paintings, no etchings, a very single flat bed with a thin mattress, if that, and one or two blankets, concrete everything. It was just that's the way it is. And Monsignor says, okay, so for the next 10 years, you've got to be in prayer and silence. You can't say a word or anything for 10 years. But at the end of 10 years, this Monsignor comes back and visits with this new recruit and says, hey, so I just wanted to ask you, do you have, I'll give you a chance to say 2 words, and what will those 2 words be? And this new recruit of 10 years said, bed hard. Monsignor looks at him, shakes his head, and says, no, you don't have it yet. Another 10 years in prayer and silence. At the end of 20 years, this new recruit, still a new recruit, he hasn't made it into be a full-fledged monk yet, is given another opportunity by this same leader, the Monsignor, and says, 2 more words. What would you like to say? And this new recruit says, food bad. Monsignor looks at him, just shakes his head and goes, nope, you still don't have it. Still can't be a monk. And so 10 more years of prayer and silence. So for another 10 years, this new recruit operated around the monastery with prayers and silence and no words. After 30 long years, Monsignor comes back in and gives this new recruit an opportunity to say 2 more words. And any idea what this new recruit said? I quit. Monsignor looks at him, slight smile on his face, and says, well, I'm not surprised, because all you've done since you've been here is complain. I love that story. I really love that story. That is cool, huh? Anyway, so let's go take a look at Project 2025. I'm just talking. It's what I like to do, I guess, talk. All right. Project 2025, sharing this thing. This is produced by the Heritage Foundation, one of the nation's oldest and most well-funded and well-respected in the conservative community, Heritage Foundation. It's brought to you by them in collaboration with 70-some organizations that, don't like minorities, apparently. Don't like half of the country. Don't like it that there are Americans. Well, they don't even think of us as Americans, but don't like it that there are Americans who fall under the First Amendment protections like they say they should be able to do. Okay, why am I saying it like that? Well, I'll just briefly jump into this thing really fast. The policy agenda, and you can learn a lot just by reading through here. Just go to project2025.org and read the thing. Don't buy the book. Go down, click on the policy tab right there. Go down here and read the mandate. It's free to open up and read. You can download it onto your little computer. There's 920 pages of this thing, but all you have to look at to get a flavor for it is just the foreword by the president of the Heritage Foundation, Dr. Kevin Roberts. And this is why I have been riling on this thing and just hammering on this thing now for, feels like 2 months now. But it's that important, folks. This is that dangerous. This is that dangerous to Americans, regardless of your ideological views. And that's what I mean, exactly that way. This is bad for conservatives. This is bad for Republicans. This is bad for Democrats. This is bad for America, period. This is, I don't recognize this as heritage anymore. I used to belong to the Heritage. I think I did back in the 80s. Yeah, back in the 80s, something like that. I was part of it. Full-fledged into it back when I was in full denial. Yeah, back there in those days. I'm going to tell you that this is what we have today. This animal that's today, this Heritage Foundation today is not like those back then. They took all the lessons that they learned and all the things that they thought they had failed at, and then turned it around and handed it over to Dr. Roberts, who is much more militant about where he stands on things. Much more militant. As a matter of fact, he ought to really take on the same label that Matt Walsh takes on in his Twitter profile. And I've said this before many times. Matt Walsh actually claims and identifies as a theocratic fascist. That's on his Twitter profile. That's what he fits. That's what he knows. He's self-aware enough to know that. Apparently, Heritage and Dr. Roberts and the others here aren't that self-aware yet, but they're doing the same crap. This is an authoritarian, theocratic, fascist way of running this country. They do not want there to be a separation between church and state. They want to impose Christianity upon the whole nation. And I mean, just look at Mike Johnson, new Speaker of the House, an evangelical Christian who believes in dominionism. You know what dominionism is? Go check it out. It's authoritarian theocratic beliefs. That's what it is, folks. It's the kind of belief that says, you know, a woman has a place in that house, but only as long as she's making babies and in the kitchen. That's the kind of stuff that Mike Johnson is from, and that's the kind of stuff that Heritage is pushing right now. And with Kevin Roberts, Kevin came out of Texas from one of the foundations down there that was part of this all along anyway. But that's where Kevin comes from. He was running the program down in Texas. What's Texas known for? Well, a lot of evangelical Christian ministries there. A lot of them. And they have the power in that state. And they're trying to turn Texas into that same thing, that dominionist view. They're almost there, folks. But they're taking that same thing and pushing it on the rest of this country. This is not good for America. This mandate for leadership, this thing will, oh my God, you talk about everything you think you know about America. If they get in power and implement this thing, then guess what? The America you know today that is somewhat accepting of people like us, somewhat accepting now, it will mean nothing then. You'll be wishing for days like this. Because what they want to do is erase and eliminate every word that represents us, any way of identifying anything that is different in this country. That's exactly what they want to do. And that, to me, goes against everything that America stands for. We are looking to pursue and have and live within all those blessings of liberty that everybody else talks about. That's all we want. Nothing more, nothing less. The same thing. We're almost there. We got a ways to go, but we're a lot closer than we were yesterday. But if this thing comes about, if a conservative stands up there on the stage on January the 20th of 2025 and says, "So help me God," then the thing that's going to happen is that this mandate for leadership has laid out a whole strategy, a game book, a guidebook that they can hand over and say, okay, here are the people you need to fill into these offices. We've got them trained, vetted, and tested and ready to go. They're all conservatives. We've taught them everything they need to know about that agency. They're prepared. And you take that and you issue an executive order that says we're going to re-implement Schedule F, which would mean all employees are at-will employees across the executive branch, meaning you can be fired at will, and which they will do because they want to put in their people trained and vetted and ready to go. They're going to try, their goal is to train 20,000 people to go in and be ready to fill in the whole of the federal government. There's about 4,000 people that each president recently has had to vet and fill a position for in the federal enterprise, talking about the executive branch. That means all the different agencies and departments and stuff like that. That's what they've got to fill out. Every president has, during the transition period, whoever wins, they've got to they got to select and vet a bunch of people, make sure they can pass security clearances and all this kind of stuff, and fit them into the offices. There are about 4,000 positions that new presidential transition team has to prepare for. Well, Project 2025 will do that job for them. They don't have to worry about it. They may have they'll have a few they want to put in on their own, but for the most part, Heritage Foundation is doing all the work for them. And you talk about saving them a lot of time and money. Time and money. Yes, absolutely will. And that's the whole idea. That's the whole idea. Heritage wants to take over that responsibility for these presidential campaigns. The left doesn't have anything near like that, and they should. We have nothing like that. These people over here with the Project 2025, the Mandate for Leadership, they are rolling this thing out. And I mean, if they take over the White House, and look, here's another point you need to know too. I want to tell you this straight up. They aren't focusing on taking the House or the Senate. They don't need to. They really don't care. Right now, their goal is to take over the whole executive branch and make it the way they think it should look like, how it should look. And for the longest time, they've always wanted to have, they wanted to reduce the size of the administrative state, the fourth leg of the U.S. government. And yeah, it's big. They want to limit that size. They want to give some of that power and authority back over to Congress. Well, Congress can do some things, true, but they don't have the capacity to handle every darn decision that needs to take place within these organizations. They would still have to mandate, they'd still have to give some authority over to these different offices to make decisions. Otherwise, you just put a robot in there and not let them have any kind of decision-making authority or use any kind of their experience or wisdom or knowledge or whatever. Just set it up under robots and just have them do what you want. But there are limits to all of it. And that's their biggest goal, has been that to limit the size of the administrative state. And there's, I see no issue with that. Of course, it needs to be, in some cases, reduced. Maybe increased in others, though. You just can't make a blanket statement like that because it's obviously not true. You've really got to think about it. Got to think about which agency and department. See, every department and agency in the executive branch, I'm talking things like, Health and Human Services, Department of Health. Let me see. I already said that one anyway. DOE, Department of Energy, Department of Education, Health and Human Services. I already said that one too. Whatever. State Department, all of it. CIA, FBI, Justice Department, you name it, and the Veterans Affairs Administration, and also the National Institute of Health and any other group that falls under organization that falls within the realm of the executive branch of government. They want to go in and reduce the size of all of that, but that's not their top priority this time around. Their first priority is they want to go clean house first. They want to make sure they got the people in place to go in and clean house of words they just don't like, of words that make them go, oh. That's what the Project 2025 things does. So I'm just going to skip down through here. I'm going down pretty far. We're going, that's not it. There's the pillars. Okay, here we go. All right, so earlier today, I did a little search here at the top. This is the Mandate for Leadership. That's page 1. This is written by Dr. Roberts of the Heritage Foundation. And you can do a little search thing right here. You can go in and type in a word you're looking for. Let's say we look for gender. Earlier today, I put in transgender. But let's just go look for gender. Let's see what it has to say. Well, there are, it's still counting up. How many references to gender? 111 so far. And the first one happens to be right here in the second paragraph of the foreword, folks. Look at America under the ruling class and cultural elite today. And it belies the fact that obviously they too are the ruling and cultural elite of today. But, they don't want you to think that. They don't want you to think that they are too, because, they're just one of you, right? Yeah, no, bullshit. Okay. Inflation is ravaging family budgets. Yeah, that's true. Drug overdose deaths continue to escalate. Yeah, that's true. And then, since you have two true statements here, then obviously the next one is true too, but it's not. Be careful. And children suffer the toxic normalization of transgenderism with drag queens and pornography pervading their school libraries. So what they've done is they've made two correct statements here that, yeah, everybody's going to say, yeah, inflation is ravaging the family budget. I can see it on my table. You know, it costs now $100 or something just to buy the same thing I bought maybe 3 months ago, it feels like, for 75. Yeah. And then drug overdose deaths, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been on the rise for a long time. But they take it a different direction a little bit later. You'll see what I mean if we get to that. And this part, though, they also want you to think is true since the other two are true. No, don't fall for that. Don't fall for it at all, because this is not the case. This is an absolute travesty of a bunch of words thrown together here. They're trying to connect together pornography and all this kind of stuff with transgender people, and they're using transgender people and making them all look like they're in this ideology that they're calling transgender ideology or transgenderism, which is a bunch of crock of BS if I ever heard one. And that's a lot of the argument I got into over there with Christopher Rufo's site. Anyway, that's just crazy. Let's skip down to the next one now. If you go down to the next word where gender is located, click. Oh, look at that. There's a bunch. Starting on page 4, folks, this is where it's at, right there in the 4. This is still written by Kevin Roberts. The next conservative president must make the institutions of American civil society hard targets for woke culture warriors. Jeez. Oh, this starts with deleting. Now, this is the militant part of this. This is where it turns really militant. This is, I mean, this is combative. There's no equivocating this. They're not shading it. They're not hiding it behind anything. They're not bouncing on playing with words. They are telling you what they want to do. And they have the power and resources to make it happen if they take the presidency in 2025. So they say this starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation and gender identity, diversity, equity, inclusion, gender equality, equity, awareness, sensitivity, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights. And this is the part that just absolutely gets under my skin when this is said. This next part after that comma right there. And any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights. They could put a period right there and had a fully complete and complete sentence full of ignorance, all of it. But anyway, they actually are saying that if you are these other things, these other words apply to you, well, then you aren't protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. How do you feel about that? That's horrifying to me that you have another American saying that another group of Americans don't qualify for citizenship in this country, don't qualify for the protections of the U.S. Constitution. Now, yeah, they're going to try to roll all this stuff out if the president is conservative and takes over the presidency on January 20th, 2025. And yes, it will be litigated left and right. Everything that they do is going to be litigated just like that they have done with everything President Biden has tried to do. It'll be litigated. But the thing is, they don't care. They will have begun the ball rolling in that direction. If they continue and win again and win the House and the Senate. I mean, if they just get the presidency this time around and 2 years later they get an opportunity to take the House and the Senate, well, doesn't matter how much litigation you have, all you have to do is write the rules again. You know, write the rules the way they want them to be written. And then you have to deal with an even bigger issue. So, I mean, we can't let them do this, folks. And you have to realize this is going after every American out there. This is going after all Americans. And it will harm even them. Anyway, they don't care. So what are they going to do with this? It says take all of these words out of every federal rule, agency, regulation, contract, grant, regulation. Again, over here, a piece of legislation that exists. I mean, that is dead spot on, just exactly what they want to do. And believe me, they have the influence and the power and the money to make it happen. And what do we have? People not even coming in and trying to help out to start fighting this. We have people standing on the sidelines looking, saying, hey, we don't need to point out that stuff. We need to keep it. We don't want to point it out, not make it come true. Well, if you're going to blame me for making this come true in, like, I don't know, in January of 2025, you have got your head stuck up your behind. This was going to come about regardless. I mean, if they take that presidency, this is happening. It doesn't matter if you acknowledge that it was around or not. As a matter of fact, they don't care whether you acknowledge it or not. But here's what it is. We can stop this thing, folks. We can put an end to this thing. We can. But we've got to stand together and point out that this is going after every American in this nation, that this does not live up to any kind of ideals of America from anyone, unless you're one of those dominionists over there, the Christian dominionists who want to turn America into a Christian, authoritarian, theocratic, fascist nation. And if you don't think they don't want to do that, I don't know where you've been either, but yeah, I know these people. I used to work with some of them back when I was in denial days. Yeah, I'm old enough to have been everywhere, around the block at least a few times. But we can beat it, folks. We can beat this thing, but it's going to take us getting off our asses and doing something. Help us fight this. Put it out on your platform. Share this stuff out there. Go talk about it. Make sure people are aware of it. Because everywhere I go, it comes up in a conversation somewhere because I bring it up. Because what I've learned is that people aren't aware of it. They don't see this as a threat. Well, actually, they're not aware of it, but once they see it as a threat. But then you've got to keep motivating people to keep moving and doing things and coming together and solve this thing. We need every organization out there, from TAVA, the old organization I was with, the 23-year-old transgender-specific military, veterans organization. Good bunch of people, good bunch of ideas, love it. Great. They're a C3, they're limited in what they can do. But their people aren't C3s. We need to start pulling all this stuff together and getting people moving in the right direction. If you're a leader of one of these other organizations out here, like AVER or TAVA or Minority Veterans of America or Modern Military, Modern Military Association of America, or Sparta, or any other organization out there that stands for transgender and diverse veterans, or any LGBT group of veterans and military people, or people in the country, regardless of who you are, whether you're military or not, we need to be pulling together. NCTE needs to be helping out with this. NCTE has got a lot of resources to be able to make it happen, folks. A lot of support. Lambda Legal needs to be involved in all of this. The Transgender Law Center needs to be involved in all of this. Everything that's taking place between now and election time next year, every conference that's held, this needs to be a topic of conversation. Every conference around this country. And I'm hoping that it actually shows up at the U.S. PATH conference that's taking place this week, right now in Denver, Colorado. I hope it's taking place there. I know that Paula Neera is going to be there presenting. Paula, if you're listening, I'm pretty sure you're not, but because you're busy out there. But she and I spoke yesterday, and she's aware how dangerous this is. So I hope she brings it up. I hope it comes up as a topic of conversation, because this is that dangerous. We have got to get people moving forward. We've got to get people taking this thing seriously, because I don't care what you think. And it was Paula who told us in a group yesterday, actually. There was several of us there. There was Jesse Caballero from TAVA and NCTE was there. We had myself from TDVA, Paula as an individual, but also who works as manages the transgender program at Johns Hopkins now. And she's also an attorney. And then you got a couple of researchers, Ben and Hill, and different ones here who are doing things, as well as our other researcher out there with the VA. But we were all talking about these things, and Project 2025 came up, and I could see that few Paul and I had heard of it, and I'm pretty sure Josie had, because I keep sending emails to everybody about it. But we have to take it seriously. There are people who are trying to tell me I need to shut up and not say anything. But what Paula said was the old mantra. I think it was Michelle Obama who said, when they go high, when they go low, we go high, right? That was Michelle Obama, I believe, First Lady Obama. She actually said, when they go low, we need to go high. Ordinarily, that might be the right thing to do, but these are not those days, folks. This is dangerous. When they go low, we've got to get in the mud with them and start fighting. Because if we don't, then we will have failed miserably and look back on these days of, why didn't we do something back then when everybody was telling us about it? Why did we let them do this? Where'd that come from? Oh no, they just suddenly showed up and they just go on removing everything that identifies us across the whole government. It's already been tested in states. Some of the states right now are testing eliminating words they don't like. If you think the book bans are bad, wait till they start denying words. Remember a few years back when the CDC, that whenever it came to Trump, there was president, and there was this memo or something that went out, and they were supposed to remove all references to transgender people within the CDC. That was a test. Yeah, we raised up against it. And yeah, CDC at the time said, no, we're not doing that. But they want to do that. They'll go in and remove every reference to sexual orientation, gender identity, diversity, equity, inclusion, every darn thing, including abortion or, reproductive rights or reproductive health, intersectionality, all those words that they don't like. It just makes them feel all flustered over to see people using words like that. And here's their argument, though. Their argument is, but the Constitution covers all Americans. We don't need to have all these separate things in there. Bullshit. There are social determinants of health that are tied specifically to your minority status, folks. Y'all know that. We know that. I know that, right? We've known that for decades, actually, but that is the case. It might not have been called minority stress or minority or social determinants of health, but it actually was for a long time. But anyway, it's, this stuff has been going on for a long, long time. And we know that there are situations where the social determinants, the social factors, your economic, the socioeconomic factors in your life determine the quality of healthcare you get, determine the quality of the thriving that you have access to, all those kind of things. Those are real and measurable. But if they remove the words from NIH, Sexual Orientation, Gender Identity, the lab, got a friend there who runs the Sexual Orientation, Gender Identity Research Lab, Karen Parker. If they take away grant opportunities that have to do with sexual orientation, gender identity, that whole office closes because they're not allowed to do any research on it. Office over there in the VA for LGBT people closes, which was recently stood up just last year. Yeah, but it feels like, I'm not quite sure. I think it was last year. Yeah, but anyway, the Center for Minority Veterans that I referenced at the first half of this show, no reason to exist. My good friend who runs the transgender health program in the Defense Health Administration, the Defense Health Agency, or whatever it's actually called. But anyway, she's a good friend. Her office goes away. All the offices about gender, all the offices about diversity, equity, inclusion, all the stuff that has to do with trying to be inclusive and accepting of all people, then yeah, those things go away if this stuff gets to become reality. So that's an hour, and I want to just shut it off there. And I do want to say this in closing. One is, I don't want to hear anyone in our community go out here and say that the people pushing this stuff are un-American. They are not. They are Americans, just like we are, okay? They have a right to believe and push these things, even if they are wrong. And the same thing applies with all these protests on campus about, pro-Palestine and pro-Hamas and stuff like that. You can be pro-Palestine and be anti-Hamas As a matter of fact, you should be. But we cannot shut down those kind of things, those kind of protests, because that is a violation of First Amendment rights, folks. Can't do it. Anyway, we do succeed at this, though, and we can. We can do it. We can win at this. So we've got to get together. And when I get up in D.C. And I get in that meeting, you know darn well I'm going to be talking about Project 2025 and trying to bring all of these groups together. I know there'll be other groups represented there in that audience. And that's the first thing I want to do. I want to make sure I am ready when I get there to organize us so that we can start pushing forward and push back against this. And we've got to start in the middle of the country. And the reason why, because, you know, it doesn't matter if there are if 10 million more people vote for someone other than a conservative. If 10 million more people vote for them, they're based out on the east and west coast where all the primary areas are for the blue spaces. It doesn't matter. The right is not really focused on vote count. They're focused on getting the electoral college count. They're focused on taking those states that allow them to get the most electoral votes from the middle of the country, from wherever they can get them. That's their goal. They don't really care about the votes, because all they need is to win the electoral college to have a president in it. But we can beat them, but we have to start in the middle, and we've got to push hard. We've got to push after them. And if you have any resources to help out, please do. Please send them to us. Go to that website. Let me stop sharing here and go back to StreamYard. Please go over there and donate if you can. Please contribute something, anything. Go to the website. Let me pull up the website link over here again, the banners. And here. Go to the website right there, and if you can contribute to this, please do, because we have got to start fighting with everything that's in us as a united front against this kind of stuff that seeks to eliminate us from the whole of our nation. We can do it. We can do it, but you've got to come with us and do it. We can't do it alone. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow at noon Eastern time. Another live show. Have a great one, everyone.